Character is what sustains. If somebody ever sold you a fake product, would you go back there? But that's exactly what people who have charisma but lack character are. They are fake. Because you are transferring the attractiveness of their charisma on their character, and you're assuming that they must be as good as their charisma suggests. Then you come near and you realize that, my goodness, this is a snake. This person wants to deceive me. This person wants to take advantage of me. Would you marry someone that almost beat you to pulp, even though he was very fine? No! Because character trumps charisma any day, anytime. But sometimes we are deluded. Sometimes we are bullied by the allure of charisma. And we make very unfounded decisions on the strength of, the charisma that looks more golden, more shiny. And like the famous saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Hello there, my name is Dami Oguntunde. You're welcome to the Faith and Culture podcast. And we've been on this leadership series for quite a while now. And I believe it's been very insightful and useful for you, both in your Christian leadership as well as your corporate leadership in the secular world. Today, I'll be talking about what I've titled the leadership tripod. So a tripod, I'm sure we all know what a tripod is. I'm looking at one right now in the studio. It's a three-legged, device or instrument or equipment that is used to host or hoist, cameras and any other thing pretty much. Now, there are stools that also have this sort of tripod type of stand. And the whole idea of a tripod is that any leg of it being missing will affect the stability of the tripod. That is, it's literally defined by its tri-ness. It's tri. It can't be two. It can't be one. It's tri. That is, for it to stand, each of the legs must be there. And I believe that leadership also has a tripod. That is, leadership cannot stand without these three very critical elements. The first element is character. The second element is competence, and the last element is charisma. Now, these are very important aspects of leadership, and it may not be surprising to see a world where a few parts of this tripod isn't paid as much attention as it needs to, especially within the context of this social media world that we live in today. Now, I don't have a problem with social media. The way I sometimes talk about social media, it gives the impression that I have a problem with social media. I think social media has great benefits. I think it's part of what is required in this generation for the next level of civilization to emerge. However, I'm not sure people have really learned how to hedge themselves against the disastrous consequences of untethered and unfiltered social media space. And one of the things that this untethered social media space has created is an outcome-based airwaves. That is, what really thrives on social media is the opulence, the affluence, the success, the glories of people and how great they are, how successful they are. I mean, nobody goes on LinkedIn to type all the struggles. They talk about all the amazing things they've done and the jobs they landed. And it can be very outcome biased. And there's nothing wrong with talking about the outcome, as long as you show us the workings, like it has become popular these days, show workings, like let us know what led you to this point. And I would say that is one of the reasons why there was a dip in the motivational industry, quote unquote, at some point, some decade ago, thereabout, because there was always that sense of you can do it. Okay, so how will I do it? And I tried to do what you said I should do. It didn't work. It didn't work for me because your journey is very different from mine. Your story is different from mine. Your context is different from mine. So you share your story, I'm pumped up, I'm excited, but I can't really apply the underlying principles that you applied because your context is very different. And so we moved into the coaching era where things were a bit more personalized. Instead of just motivational speaking, let's talk to you. Let's understand your real context. Tell us your own story. Then we can tailor a solution to your needs. And so the social media space has created a world where what really matters, to people and what they want to be able to show off in the immediate is the blings and the glams and the glitz, what really makes things attractive, which is where charisma comes in. Now, there's a place for charisma, but charisma is the least important of the tripod. So it's a tripod that requires these three legs. However, there's also a degree of importance that must be attached to these three things. And you must put the right focus on the right thing at the right time. Now, if you put focus on charisma in your early leadership career or journey, what would happen is that you would have a lot of affinity for performance. You would be the kind of person that can say the right things, you look the right way, you look dapper, you look great, you take the right pictures, you use the right content for your, conversations, and, you get somebody to, take your video when you're getting out of the vehicle. Like, charismatically, you are like up there. But if you do not pay attention on character, what would happen is that you will draw people in with your charisma, but you will disappoint them twice as much with your bad character. And this is why God will never put charisma before character. No, he always puts character before charisma. Remember when David became a superstar, like overnight, literally, like he killed Goliath. Like, imagine that in the world today. Imagine how you would be trending on Twitter. Imagine how many days you'll be trending for. David killed Goliath. The same Goliath that had threatened the children of Israel and the armies thereof for 40 days, and the king just sat there, quote unquote, like some, and then he didn't do anything for 40 days. And by the way, this Saul, this king of Israel, was one that was head and shoulders taller than everybody in the entire realm. So if anybody was expected to step up to the plate and confront Goliath, it was Saul. Everybody was looking at him like this, but nobody could say anything. I'm sure he could read the body language in the room, and he was feeling the pressure. So by the time David came, he began to dole out some form of bounty. If anybody does this, he will get this, he will get that, because the pressure was really hot on his head. Now, David shows up on the scene and he kills Goliath. He didn't just chase him away. He kills this guy and puts his head in his chambers. My goodness. How old is this young boy? 16, 17-year-old boy. He killed Goliath. He became an overnight sensation. All the older and younger women in the entire land of Israel, they began to dance in the evening, all right, in the village square, started dancing and making all kinds of, a melody. David has killed 10,000 Saul. Well, only a few thousand, but David, 10,000. Before you know what is going on, it filtered into the court of the palace. The palace heard about it. Saul began to hear about it, and the Bible says he cast his eyes on David. Now, what did David start to do? The Bible says he behaved himself wisely. What would the typical average teenage sensation do today? You take a selfie, you take a picture with you and the head of Goliath, you post it on Instagram or TikTok, and then everybody's going to just start hailing you like, my goodness, which kind of person you be? This guy, you are the best, you are the greatest, you are the most, you are the GOAT, and all those things, and you begin to gas yourself and feeling all fly because, man, none of them could do it. Even the king was just faltering. I just came and in 5 minutes I killed Goliath. Imagine that narrative on a tabloid. Imagine that narrative on Times Magazine. Imagine that narrative on any of these media houses. This is David, the global star, the national sensation. Yet the Bible says he behaved himself wisely because he had character. He understood the power of discretion. Now, there is a king in Israel. I'm not trying to usurp the king. I'm only a teenager. I still have a lot to learn. There's no point putting myself out there. I can't control what the women say, but I can control how I behave. I will not let it get into my head. I will behave myself wisely. I'll behave myself wisely. And that was not the only time something remarkable happened around him as a teenage boy. Samuel had been to his house. Samuel enters into Jesse's house. Jesse is the father of David. He has 7 sons. This guy is asked, bring all your sons, and so conveniently leaves out David. Then Samuel asks, are these all your sons? I say, well, there is one unfortunate one in the wilderness. He goes to meet with the bears and the lions every day. Who knows what has become of him? He may have even died. Who knows? Anyways, wait. And then Samuel tells everybody to stand. We will keep standing until David shows up. David runs in, with a shepherd boy look. And then Samuel anoints David's head as the king of Israel in the stead of Saul. And not a single person heard about it on David's account. If anybody heard about it, maybe it was his brothers that spread the rumors, but not David. If that was you, what would you have done? By the way, Samuel was as good as God's presence. Do you understand what that means? Samuel was literally God's presence to the average children of Israel. Samuel, if he's going to Gilgal, it will be as though the cloud has gone to Gilgal. This is who Samuel was. He shows up and it's like, boy, what is about to happen in this town? And he doesn't just go to a sacrificial high mountain to sacrifice like he typically did. There were 4 of such places in Israel at the time. He goes to a person's house. And he goes to a person's house, himself, the father, and all the elder brothers stand and they wait for a teenage boy to show up. And the horn was poured on his head. Boy, oh boy. This is David. But David behaved himself wisely, knowing fully well that it was a replacement for Saul, yet not even acting like it, because he would rather patiently go through the process that God was taking him through than hastily jump on a position that could wreck his career. Bible talks about your high places. He said he will give you hinds feet and he will cause you to walk upon your high places. It is your high place. Don't hustle for it. God will put you there, but you need to have hinds feet. If you go there with chicken legs, you will be destroyed by the winds at that level. It's called a high place for a reason, because there are boisterous winds at that level. But it needs your legs to be strong, so that by the time he puts you on that high place, you will stand strong, able to withstand all the pressures that comes with leadership at that level. But a lot of us sometimes will just instantly go into positions and wreck our mental health, become depressed, money. You have too much money at such a young age. There's nobody managing it for you, and you don't have a good head on your shoulder. You're not researching, you're not reading, and you just blow up your money. You start partying late. You start having girlfriends upon girlfriends, baby mamas upon baby mamas, and all that money finishes at 35, and you didn't have savings. You had nothing to fall back to, and the peak of your career is right behind you. What do you do? Because you didn't build character. Even though you were the most charismatic, you didn't have character. I can go on and on and on and talk about contemporary examples in our day and age today who were very charismatic, great singers, great athletes, great performers, great entertainers, but somehow or the other in their mid-50s, there's nothing to write home about. They are not living stable lives. Many of them have gotten into all kinds of psychotic or psychiatric situations where they're no longer mentally stable and they are now locked out somewhere in some rehabilitation center, because charisma came before character. Character suggests that you put your head on the ground and you do not allow the success that you have experienced at such an early age enter into your head and make you despise those with experience and age and counsel. Character means that you submit yourself to the right authorities around you, your parents, your pastors, your leaders, your executives, people that you think have something valuable to contribute to your emergence. You listen to them, you pay attention to what they have to say. When they are speaking, you write things down. That means you have a good character. It means you are humble, you're teachable. The most powerful quality you can look for in anybody is teachability, because it's a mother of all kinds of qualities. You've got to be a humble person to be teachable. You've got to be a patient person to be teachable. There are all kinds of things that makes for a teachable person. And if you're not teachable, it means you're proud. And if you're proud, it means you're hasty. If you're hasty, it means you make mistakes in your life. And if you make mistakes, it means you will regret. And so it is important that you learn the heart and the art of building strong character. What did the Bible say? The Bible says, my son, give me your heart. Beyond all your performance and the gift that you have. Today I gave you your gift. What I'm looking for is your heart. God gave you that charisma. God gave you that gift. God gave you that ability to perform, that ability to sing. But are you combining it with a good dose of solid character? Are you humble? Do you learn from people? Do you even learn from people that are under you? Do you listen? Remember what I talked about when I talked on the ecosystem versus the echo chamber? Have you built strong character? Do you have integrity? Can money buy your allegiance and your loyalty? Be very careful the things that you price as the most important in your life. What should be most important in your life is God's nod over your life. God's well done. God's approval. Not the approval of other people. Not the approval of social media, your fans. It is the approval of the people that matter the most. People that represent God's voice in your life and God himself. Those are the approvals of people that should matter the most. And that is the kind of person that would have strong character. Look at the opportunity that Joseph had to mess up. Can you imagine? He was already at the peak of his career in Potiphar's house. And that was literally the best job any slave could have. Now your Oga's wife is liking you. Come on, sleep with her and permanentize your job and ensure that your salary is secure. But he will not do that. He will not compromise on his character. Just for convenience. Just for some green card. Just for some visa. Because imagine he becomes an Egyptian citizen. This is me just thinking wild anyways. Imagine the woman marries him and he becomes an Egyptian citizen by affiliation with Potiphar's wife. My point is, whatever the immigration laws must have been in Egypt, this was a good deal for Joseph. So it looked like he was going to gain if he slept with Potiphar's wife. At least that was what it looked like. There was no Victory in sight. There was no basis for rejecting that offer. No basis apart from his conscience, apart from his love for God, apart from his allegiance to the truth. And he says, I will never do this great thing and sin against my God and against my destiny inadvertently. Eventually gets to the prison and he becomes a leader there as well, and he continues to serve with great character and great attitude. Eventually he became the prime minister of Egypt, which is way better than becoming the sidekick for your Oga's wife. You may not see what is ahead, but character will take you to the highest level of authority. If you stick with God and follow his leadership, follow his leading, you become the kind of leader that God wants you to be. Don't place charisma before character. Charisma may look more attractive, more appealing, more cool, but character is what keeps. Character is what sustains. If somebody ever sold you a fake product, would you go back there? But that's exactly what people who have charisma but lack character are. They are fake. Because you are transferring the attractiveness of their charisma on their character, and you're assuming that they must be as good as their charisma suggests. Then you come near and you realize that, my goodness, this is a snake. This person wants to deceive me. This person wants to take advantage of me. Would you marry someone that almost beat you to pulp even though he was very fine? No! Because character trumps charisma any day, anytime. But sometimes we are deluded. Sometimes we are bullied by the allure of charisma. And we make very unfounded decisions on the strength of, the charisma that looks more golden, more shiny. And like the famous saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Now, when you buy something that glitters but is not gold, you say that thing is fake. That is what it means when you have charisma but you lack character. You are fake. Don't be fake. Look for character before charisma. But you see, something in between character and charisma is competence. And that's the order, actually. Anyone who has character will build competence in an area. Because character suggests that you are truthful. That means if you are good at something, you will be honest about it. If you are not good at it, you will develop yourself about it. So eventually, if you have character, you will develop competence. Competence talks about your ability to deliver a job as expected, based on requirements. Not just a job based on what you think is good. No, as standardized and expected. That is, a doctor should be able to do this. An accountant should be able to do that. A pilot should be able to fly an aeroplane. You can't do all of that, but you say, well, it doesn't matter. I know God. No, you must be competent. Else, you risk losing character. Because what will make you take credit for somebody that is competent and you are not competent is a lack of character. You get the job and the cash and the salary of somebody that is competent because they hired you like as though you were competent. Then you come on the job and you're not delivering at the highest level as expected by the people that hired you, so they are paying for something that is not real. You came in looking competent, looking the part, you spoke all the English. Now do the job. You can't do the job because you actually do not have the competence. So eventually, if you lack competence, you are likely going to have lacked character before you lacked that competence. So my point is, character is the most important thing to develop. Then you build competence. In any area of endeavor, it might be in your secular experience, build strong competence. Be able to deliver a job at the highest level. Develop excellence. Don't be mediocre. Don't be an average person. Do more than is expected. As a matter of fact, it's okay to be paid less than what you are deserving of. They are not really stealing from you when you do that. You are actually paying it forward. Because what will happen is that by the time you are done from that place, what will happen will not be an arithmetic jump. It will be a meteoric, exponential increase. I know someone that I hired at my organization. We were paying him a very small amount at the start. He built a whole platform for us. Great guy, incredible character, incredible personality, incredible attitude. And for 2 years, he built this platform. He was there. He had several other offers that they were promising him almost times 3 of what we were paying him, because we were a startup. We didn't have all that money. So all I could do was just augment what I was paying him with mentorship. So I was mentoring him as much as I could. This guy leaves our job. By the way, he didn't have much experience when he joined us, but he built up a lot of competence within the first few months of being part of us. And he was always learning, researching, and becoming better, doing all kinds of courses online. By the time he was leaving our organization, I can't even begin to tell you the exponential, component on the amount that we're paying him. Maybe you'll be able to pay our entire wage bill 2-3 times over because he got an incredible offer. And he didn't get that offer only because he was good technically. It was because he had built some good character along the line as well. I'm sure there were other people who perhaps had the exact same technical capacity that he had. Character will stand you out because it is no longer a common thing in the world today. Be a person of your word. If you say you will show up early, show up early. Be the kind of person that people can follow. Develop strong character. I'll round off with this conversation. Look at the word character to start with. I'm sure you know that your alphabet and figures, they're called characters on your QWERTY pad, on your phone, on your laptop. Why are they called characters? Think about it. Because they don't change. That's why they're called characters. Number 1 in Nigeria is number 1 everywhere in the world. Number 2 in Kuwait is number 2 everywhere in the world. They don't change because of the mood they're in. They don't change because of the atmosphere they're in. They don't change because of who is talking to them. They are the same everywhere. That is what it means to have character. Who you are in the private is who you are outside. Who you are on the stage is who you are on the seat. Who you are everywhere is who you are everywhere. You are a good character. When a character stops to be a good character, it morphs. And the moment it begins to morph, it becomes less reliable. This is one of the reasons why words go into extinction. There are some words that used to be used several decades and several, perhaps, centuries ago, but they're no longer part of the typical lexicon. And the reason is because they became too flexible. People started using them for several other things apart from the original intention of that word. So people started using that word for several other things. So by the time you use that word, you literally have to qualify the word so that people can understand the context in which that word is being used. So after a while, people began to find alternatives because instead of having to qualify this word, because this word can mean several other things, I will have to use another qualifier to qualify this word. So what do? Let me just look for one word that captures the essence of what I'm trying to say anyways, instead of using the word that is now pure water, that is now so diluted that it can mean literally anything. And then I would have to qualify it to show context. How about I just use a new word that is different? And before you know what is going on, people begin to use that new word instead of the old word. And that is how words actually go into extinction because they became too useful for their good. They were used anyhow. They were used in every way, in every context. And now they are no longer useful because they were not stable, they were not consistent, they were not unbending. As someone who is going to be a leader at the highest level, your 3 tripods or your 3 stands must be standing strong. You must have strong character. You must have good competence. But hey, I know this is the charisma part that we have said is not so important, but hey, it is so important, especially in the world of human beings. You're going to be talking to people. People are social beings. They'll pick up on your vibe. Imagine I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, but this is my passion level. So it's okay to have a good character. A good character is good. How bored are you going to be? Think about it. You're going to be bored out of your socks because how can somebody be talking like that and that is their most passionate level? My goodness. If you're going to be passionate. Come on, that cannot be passion, right? Because charisma also matters. Charisma is what makes you attractive to a people, to the people you have been sent to. So no matter all the character you have, I can't know until I get close. That's the thing about character. Until I get close, I can't really know your character. Until you've worked for me, I can't really know your competence. But your charisma can shine where your character and your competence may not be able to shine. Your charisma can single you out in an audience that is filled with average people. And you just show up and then, boy, you just stand out because of your charisma. The way you speak, the way you gesticulate, the way you come up with ideas, how creative you are, how funny you are, how humorous you are, the gifts you have, you can sing. Those things aid your leadership. Because if you lack charisma, you will not be likable. If you lack character, you will not last. If you lack competence, you can't be trusted. So at the end of the day, all these 3 things work together for good for a leader. The leadership tripod contains character, competence, and charisma. And that is the order of importance. So before you start thinking of building charisma and your public speaking ability and your gifting, build strong character. And everybody can build that. I may not be able to compete with a monkey at climbing because it has solid charisma and gifting in that regard. But I can build character. There is nobody that has the gift of character. Everybody can build strong character. And everybody can build competence in an area of strength. Charisma, you can build charisma to the degree that God has gifted you and to the degree that your work requires that level of demonstration and charisma. But by all means, understand that for your leadership to be effective, you need these three things working in tandem. I hope this has blessed you and inspired you. God bless your heart. I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.